I want to introduce to you through the power of story two people who made quite an impression on me. After meeting these people, I began to question, what does it mean to be blessed? You see, according to my paradigm, through my scratched pair of glasses, being blessed, because of how I was raised in my culture, my surrounding, is directly related to how much stuff we have. There's a direct correlation between how much stuff we have, including money, and how blessed we are. And the more stuff we have, the more blessed we are. That's just how it's been drilled into me. Until I met a woman named Snadia. And I know that's a very strange name for a very strange woman. In fact, she's so strange, she may be living from the soul. Snadia resides in one of countless spots scattered throughout the earth that would appear to us to be maybe the opposite of blessed, maybe even cursed. There she grows peanuts. With great pride, she described the process of planting the seed, harvesting the nut, adding a little bit of salt, and then allowing them to dry to perfection in the sun. She and a little girl who needed medical assistance had just made a very difficult trek to meet me and the medical team with whom I was serving. Snadia arrived with great joy and a smile and a big bag of peanuts, about this big, full of little bags of peanuts. And she was giving them away for people to try, and I said, I'd like to buy one of those little bags. How much would you sell one to me for? She said, $1? I said, okay, I'll buy one of those little bags. And I'm telling you, after having those peanuts planted with her hands in the earth and salted and dried in her village, no peanut has ever been the same. It was so good. It was like having communion with the earth. And I think it had much to do with the love that she poured into creating these peanuts. Well, other people began to buy the little bag of peanuts that was in the big bag of peanuts from her, until after about a half an hour, she had sold out of all of her peanuts, gone. All of them. And we were all enjoying just the love of each little morsel. Well, I was standing right next to her, right in front of her, when she sold out of her little bags of peanuts, when they were all gone. And when she sold her last bag of peanuts, she sat down in a chair right in front of me, and she put her hand on her heart, and tears began dripping down her face. And I said, Snadia, what's wrong? What's wrong? And she said, oh, Barry, nothing's wrong. I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. And right then, something in my mind started to shift. My paradigm started to crack just a little bit. Because this from a woman whose grandmother had to sell a goat to get the money for transportation for her and this little girl to come and get possibly life-saving surgery. This from a woman who used all the money she had to get there, who sells peanuts, what we would call peanuts, for a living, for $20. And in that moment, I began to question everything I once knew. Does being blessed have any relationship to how much stuff we have, even how much money we have, or is it simply a state of consciousness, a way of being? Since that moment, you see, I have decided that being blessed has very little to do with what we have and more to do with how we have received that which we have been given, but even more, that being blessed is simply a way of living. It's a state of consciousness, born of original blessing. This is not something that I just consider in theory. It's something I know and have witnessed in a woman who has almost nothing. And so I began to ask the question, who is more blessed? A person who lives in $1 million apartment overlooking Central Park with a 6-figure bank account, but who's stressed every day about making ends meet or the stock market crashing? or worried about their stuff, who's more blessed? That person or this woman who lives in some spot among thousands of them across the world who has next to nothing? Who sells peanuts for a living? You see, to me, it's become very clear in my heart. Out of the nearly 7 billion people on this planet, very, very few are truly as blessed as this strange woman named Snadia. Because this woman lives in a blessed state of mind. In that moment, I realized there are basically two ways of living. To varying degrees, we are either living for granted or for gratitude. And when we are living for gratitude, everything is full of wonder and magic. Everything's a miracle, as Albert Einstein said. Either everything's a miracle or nothing's a miracle. And that is what we begin to experience when we take things for granted. Nothing is a miracle. When we take things for granted, you see, we take the blessing right out of them. Even the things that we have, we don't have anymore. Because the blessing is inside, and as soon as we take them for granted, poof, they are gone. They do not exist. Because the only blessedness is an internal experience, and it's in our hands. Living for granted, living in the magical, wonderful place for gratitude.